So about 2 years ago, I worked at Chick-fil-A. I really, really enjoyed working there. I worked with some really, really awesome people. But the downfall came when a bunch of people had left in the back and I was the only one in the store who knew how to do the stuff back there, other than a couple of the managers. And so I was scheduled every single day after school from 3:30 or 4 until 9, but I normally wouldn't get home until around 10:30 or 11. And then I would come home, take a shower, maybe watch a YouTube video or two, and then go to sleep. And by the time I would get to sleep, it would be 12:30 or 1. And I'd wake up at 6:30 the next day to do the exact same thing. And after only doing this for a short period of time, maybe not even a week, I started to notice a serious mental and physical decline in myself. I was getting exhausted walking up the steps at school, which had never happened to me before. I was struggling on tests that I wouldn't have struggled on otherwise. I could not focus in class. My attention span had me no more than a few seconds. And my grades were tanking because of this. And so I ended up having to quit Chick-fil-A because they were not able to work with my schedule. And I got really fascinated in why these things were happening to me, why I was struggling so much. And so I started doing some research on sleep. And one of the first things that I came across doing some research on sleep was this guy named Peter Tripp, who was a radio personality back in the late 50s, early 60s. And he decided that he was going to break the world record for not sleeping in 1959. And so the moment that he said this, scientists jumped on him and were saying, listen, don't do this. It's a really, really bad idea. Don't do it. And he insisted. So the scientists said, well, can we at least study you while you do this? And he, of course, obliged. And so broadcasting from Times Square in New York City, he decided that he was going to stay up for 8 days straight. And by only the third day, he was having these intense delusions and hallucinations. He thought there were bugs in his shoes. He thought people were trying to kill him. He thought people were trying to poison him. And at one point, even, there were two guys walking across the street in overcoats because it was the middle of winter. And he runs off into the streets because he thinks they're Secret Service trying to come and kill him. Anyway, he goes on to finish this eight days straight stint of not sleeping and breaks the world record. But after this really struck my interest in sleep and how it can affect you. And what I found is studies have shown that even just getting 6 hours of sleep can decrease your time to exhaustion by 30%, which is massive if you're an athlete. And another thing they found was if you're not getting enough sleep, your injury risk is much higher than those who do get enough sleep. And I found this very fascinating because I was having situations where I was getting out of breath, and I was having situations where I was rolling my ankles, I would fall down the steps. I mean, there were so many things that would happen that were as a result of sleep that I didn't realize were just because I was not getting enough sleep. And especially as a 17-year-old kid, 6 hours is not enough. At the same time, I wanted to look at what would happen if you got too much sleep. So I started looking into that, and I found that if you're oversleeping, your risks for heart disease are much higher, your cognitive function is way lower than those who do get enough sleep, and it can also impair your fertility. So after doing all this research, I have really figured out how important sleep is to living a healthy life. So I want to ask you, do you think you're getting enough sleep?